All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm so excited to welcome you to my first live stream of the Intelligence Briefing. My name is Andreas Welsch, and I'm building a community of AI program leads to share best practices that help you scale and succeed in your initiatives. And today, I want to share 3 things with you that every successful AI program lead knows. So if you have any questions throughout the session, please feel free to leave a comment in the chat, and I'll respond to it as we go. You know, I've spent the first 14 years of my career in IT, and I really loved that job, working with technology, bringing automation and these kinds of things to end users, see how things scale. But about 7 years ago, I made the decision to venture more to the product side, to learn more about digital transformation and these kinds of trends. And it was at the time that AI was really starting to pick up as a hype topic. And for the last 7 years, I've had the opportunity to work with customers on creating ideas for AI and automation, to help them prove them out, to help see how they go live, and do the same thing also in a large software development organization, helping incubate ideas, find the right ones, prioritize them, and make sure that they become part of the backlog, the roadmap, and eventually part of a feature that customers get to use. So I'm really excited here, to share what I've learned, what has helped me, and hopefully that'll inspire you as well. And AI is still a huge hype topic, right? And if you think about something like the Gartner hype cycle, I think now we're just coming into that trough of disillusionment, seeing that it's actually not that simple to do it right in the enterprise. And that's where I want to help you. And like I said, form that community, share best practices, learn from each other, because there might be things that you have seen in your business or your area that have worked well for you as well. And they might be different from what I have seen. So to me, it's all about the dialogue and learning collectively. And seeing that there's such a good coverage on AI, specifically around the data science topic, is great. But I think there is a specific need to help program leads in the enterprise, whether you're already in a head of automation type role, or that is something you want to develop into, or you just want to venture into that space and see what AI can offer. Now, if you look at some of the surveys that were published last year by Gartner, by Deloitte, by McKinsey, they all have one thing in common. And it's this sentiment of, hey, AI adoption is picking up in the enterprise, but there's still a considerable amount of failures in those projects. Not every project you start will see the light at the end of the tunnel. So for example, McKinsey saw an adoption increase of more than 25%. Customers that were using AI said, or 45% of customers that were using AI said they can significantly reduce cost in their business. But then when you look at some of the other numbers that, for example, Gartner had in their survey, they noticed that about 56% of AI projects still fail. And the number one driver is that there's really a lack of skills, of knowledge, how to do that whole process around data science in the enterprise. And so about only, I think, 53% of POCs, proof of concepts, actually make it into production. So, like I said, together, I want to help change that and shape that such that your initiatives are successful. It's really around that, or about that frame around the actual data science work. Now, before we get started on AI and the 3 learnings, maybe just a couple of words on what is AI and why does it matter for the enterprise. So when you look at enterprises, especially those that have been in business for a significant number of years, there's typically a lot of data that is already in your enterprise systems. A lot of financial data, transactional data, and so on. And there's so much more new data coming in every day, every hour, every minute, every second, right? And it's just so hard for us as humans to process all of that manually, or to put it into a spreadsheet or into a BI report, a dashboard. And so that's where AI can help you find patterns in your data so that you can make either more informed decisions or drive automation of your business process using AI-based predictions. And data can come in different forms and shapes. It could be data that you have in a database, structured data, where you have clear tables and columns, and you know what that structure looks like. Or it could be unstructured data, like sales documents, bills of lading, things in PDFs, as images, as Excel spreadsheets, and so on. So let's get to the learnings, right? And the number one learning and thing that successful AI program leads know is that not every business problem is an AI problem. And that's actually a key point here, because you need to build a funnel and a filter for ideas that you collect from your business, and to sort them out, and to decide which are the ones that you really want to pursue because they provide a lot of value. But sometimes, that might not be a good case for AI to begin with. So I would recommend take a look at features of the applications or software you already know and you already use. Maybe there is something that has been delivered or shipped or provided in a future release than what you are currently using. And having an understanding of what is available, you might not even need to use AI in the first place. Second one, would be take a look whether there are any rule-based approaches that you can use. Still not AI, but does it address the business problem? That's the big point. And the last one, right, around automation, whether it's things like robotic process automation, where you want to automate steps in a business process, or something that a business user typically executes on their desktop through clicks or through APIs. Or trying to get rid of that spreadsheet that's been there forever, using something like a lightweight application or a low-code approach. And by the way, I think now we've touched on all the buzzwords and hypes for this year. But really, the key is take a look at the business problem and really make a conscious decision whether this is really an AI problem, or if there are other ways to fix it, to address it, and to do that more quickly and maybe more efficiently than throwing this big beast of AI with all its complexity at it. Now, number two to me is that not every AI problem, that every AI problem is a business problem. So what the problem is you want to address. If you talk to your stakeholders, you get some input, you get some feedback. But if you just treat it as a technology problem, right, then you really have a disconnect here, and it's just a science project. So every AI problem has to address a specific business problem. And that then begs the question, what data do we have? What data do we need? What is the actual outcome we want to drive and we want to deliver? And also for whom, right? You're not just doing that for fun or because you want to play with the technology. No, there has to be a concrete outcome that you want to achieve. And ideally, that outcome is measurable. And you should also know where you're starting from, right? It's great to have a destination, that's where I want to get to. But if you don't really know where you're starting, how can you know what's better? How can you measure that if you don't even know that? So take a look at those kinds of problems where you are able to measure where you are today and to show that progress over time, because that will help you win stakeholders, that will help you get that buy-in from them to pursue that together, and in the end will let you show those measurable outcomes as well. Now, my number 3 here is that every AI problem needs stakeholder diversity. Too often and too many times as either IT people, engineers, technology enthusiasts, we're so excited about trying out a new technology and see what it can do. And we get lost sometimes, especially if we only put on our lens of the world that we know and the domain that we know. So it's important to bring in different perspectives into your project. And that goes beyond technology. That moves into domain expertise. So you're working on a use case in finance. Make sure that you bring in these experts from the finance domain, because they live the process day in, day out. They know the problems, and they're affected by them. So who better to ask? What's the problem? How can we help you? What does good look like? What does better look like? Than a domain expert. But it's not just the professional expertise, right, and the professional backgrounds, because it also extends to social backgrounds, to different genders, to different regional setups and input, in addition to the professional background. Because again, AI is so much more than just the technology. It impacts how we work. It impacts how you and I work. And so you want to make sure that you have a broad set of input and feedback. And look onto that same problem, just with different lenses. I've seen this be very successful in combining or setting up teams of technology experts that understand the data science, the AI part of it, what's available, how can we use it, how do we work with data, where do we get data from, what is good data, what is clean data that we need. Combine that skill set on a project team with the domain expertise, like I said, finance. How can we run this process more efficiently, more effectively? What are the KPIs that we're measured by and that we want to improve? Where can we make an impact if we increase automation? Bring in application specialists that can either develop a new application or that have an understanding of the application that you have in your landscape and how that could be combined. And already in this mix of these three skill sets, you'll find a lot of good value and a lot of good input, and like I said, different perspectives onto the same problem. So, like I said, I'm building this community this year of AI program leads to help you succeed in your initiatives in the enterprise, to help scale them, and most of all, to learn from each other. So I invite you to connect and to follow me for more information on how you can set up and how you can run your AI program, and to engage really in this community and the content we share. And so together, let's turn hype into outcome. Until then, see you next time. Bye-bye.